left for dead under two suns. The sun burned like fire in the sky. Not one sun, but two. Both hung above the desert, hot and cruel. The sand stretched far in every direction. Nothing moved. No trees, no shade. Just heat, wind, and pain. She was alone. The alien girl dragged her body forward. Her skin was dry. Her lips cracked. Her legs shook. She had no water, no food, no hope. They had left her here. Her own people. Her own blood. They said she was cursed. Said her blood was dangerous. They pushed her out of the sand skiff and threw her bag after her. Then they rowed away. She screamed, but no one turned back. That was 2 days ago. Now her voice was gone. Her throat hurt. Her eyes stung. She didn't know how much longer she could crawl. She looked up at the sky and whispered, "Let me die now." But the sky said nothing. Suddenly, she saw something in the distance. A shadow. It moved across the sand. Tall, upright, 2 legs. It was not a skiff. It was not her people. It was a human. No, it couldn't be. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. They were strange, dangerous. Her people said they were full of tricks. They took what they wanted. She blinked. The human walked closer. He wore armor over his chest and a long cloth over his head. His face was covered by goggles and a filter mask. A long rifle was strapped across his back. His boots crunched in the sand. She tried to move, to crawl away, but her body would not listen. The human stopped a few steps away from her. He didn't speak. He looked down at her. Then, slowly, he took off his backpack. He knelt beside her and opened a metal bottle. Water. Clear, cold, real. He held it to her lips. She didn't move. "What's the catch?" she croaked, voice rough like sandpaper. "No catch," he said softly. His voice was calm. "You're dying. Drink." Her eyes narrowed. "Why help me?" The human shrugged. "Why not?" She stared at him. Her hand was weak. It trembled as she reached for the bottle. He helped her hold it. The first drop touched her tongue, and she gasped. It was like touching life again. She drank. Not much. Just enough. He pulled back before she drank it all. She glared. "Easy," he said. "We need it to last. You're not the only one in this desert." She frowned. "I didn't ask for help." He gave a short laugh. "Didn't ask to die either, I bet." He stood up and looked around. The sun still burned above them. He took out a small device and tapped it. It blinked red. "No signal," he muttered. "Figures." She watched him. "You're lost." "I'm exploring," he said. "My ride crashed a few miles back. I'm heading to an outpost." She coughed. "You'll never make it with me slowing you down." He looked at her, quiet for a second. Then he pulled out a scarf and wrapped it around her arms to protect her skin from the sun. "I'm not leaving you here." She stared. "Why?" The human paused. Then he said, "Because I have a mother back home. And if someone left her in the sand, I'd want someone to stop." She didn't know what to say. He gently lifted her onto his back. "You're light," he said. "That's not good." She was too weak to fight. Her head rested on his shoulder. His body was warm, but not too hot. He moved carefully, like someone who had walked through many deserts. As they walked, she whispered, "They called me cursed." He didn't answer right away. "I don't care what they called you," he said. "You're alive. That's all I need to know." She closed her eyes. The desert wind blew harder now. Sand whipped around them, but he kept walking. She didn't even know his name. He didn't ask for hers. But as her mind faded into sleep, one thought stayed with her. Why would a human help someone who everyone else had thrown away? The sun moved slowly across the sky, and 2 lost souls crossed the dunes together, with only silence, sand, and one shared bottle of water between them. The sacred gift. The wind was louder the next morning. It howled across the dunes like a living thing, throwing sand into the sky. Sharp grains hit skin like tiny knives. The human moved forward, head down, shoulders bent against the storm. On his back, the alien girl slept. Her breathing was slow, weak, but she was still alive. He stopped near a rock outcrop, one of the few places the wind couldn't reach. Carefully, he set her down. She groaned, still half asleep, skin pale under the dust. "Hey," he said quietly, shaking her shoulder. "You still with me?" Her eyes fluttered open, yellow with slitted pupils. Strange, beautiful, not like human eyes at all. She blinked. "Still, alive." "Barely," he replied. "Storm's picking up. We need to rest." She looked around, confused. "You carried me all night." He shrugged. "Felt like it." "Why?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he took out the metal bottle again. Only a third left. He held it to her lips. She drank, slower this time, careful not to waste a drop. "You don't even know my name," she said softly. "Don't need it," he replied. "I'm not asking for yours either." She watched him closely now. His clothes were worn. His hands were rough. There was dirt under his nails. But his eyes, they were steady, not cold, not cruel. "What's your name then, human?" "Rainer," he said. "You?" "Vika." Silence again. The wind screamed in the distance, but here under the rock, it was quiet. Rainer pulled out a small pouch and opened it. Inside were dry rations, hard cakes that barely looked like food. He handed one to her. She sniffed it. "What is this?" "Human food. Tastes like sand. But it'll keep you alive." She bit into it. It was terrible. But it filled the space in her stomach. As she ate, her eyes wandered to something around Rainer's neck. A chain. And at the end of it, a small, carved pendant. It was made of stone, not metal. The shape was simple, but clean. Like two hands holding a small star. She stared at it for a long time. Rainer noticed. "You're looking at this." She nodded. "It's from my mother," he said. "She gave it to me before I left Earth. Said it's a sacred thing. Something to remind me what matters." "What does it mean?" He paused, then took it off. He held it out to her. Her eyes widened. What are you doing?" "Giving it to you," he said calmly. She didn't move. "Why would you give something sacred to me?" "Because you need something to hold on to." Vika looked at the pendant, then at him. "But I don't deserve it." Rainer's voice was firm now. "You were thrown away like garbage. By people who should have protected you. You think that makes you worthless. That's a lie." She hesitated, then reached out. Her fingers brushed the stone. It was smooth, warm from his body heat. She held it close to her chest, like it was the only real thing in the world. "Thank you," she whispered. Rainer nodded once and leaned back against the rock wall. "We rest here a while. Then we move." Vika stared at the necklace in her hands. No one had ever given her anything before. Not even her parents. Not even a kind word. But now, this strange human, someone with no reason to care, had given her water, food, and something more. Something she couldn't explain. Was it kindness? Hope? Or was it something even deeper? As Rainer rested with his eyes half shut, Vika looked at him differently now. She didn't understand humans, but maybe, just maybe, this one was different. They traveled again after midday. The sun beat down as they crossed more dunes. Vika walked beside him now. Weak, but upright. Her feet stumbled. Rainer caught her every time. They didn't speak much, but something had changed. When night came, they found shelter inside an old wreck, half buried in sand. Some old alien craft, long dead. Its walls still blocked the wind. Rainer made a small fire using the heat core and dried pack material. Vika sat close. She held the necklace in her hands. "I don't think I was meant to live," she said suddenly. Raynor didn't look at her. Why do you say that? My people. They don't keep the ones like me. If a child is born with old blood, they call her cursed. Old blood? He asked. What does that mean? She didn't answer. Not yet. Instead, she looked at the flames. They say it's dangerous, that it brings death, that the old ones will come back if someone like me lives. Raynor frowned. Sounds like superstition. It is, she said. But they believe it. That's why they left me. To die. Raynor was quiet for a long time. Then he said, well, they failed. She looked at him. You're not dead. Not yet. So maybe you weren't meant to die. Maybe. You're meant for something bigger. Vika looked down at the pendant. Maybe, she whispered. The fire crackled. Outside, the wind was softer now. Raynor leaned back. Get some sleep. We move at sunrise. Vika nodded, but didn't lie down. She sat there, holding the sacred gift close to her heart, and stared into the fire. Her people had taken everything from her, but the human had given her something they never could, a reason to keep walking. Something hunts in the dunes. The desert was quiet. Too quiet. Even with the wind, even with the heat, something felt wrong. Raynor stood at the edge of the broken shipwreck. His eyes scanned the horizon. The sun was rising again, red and angry. It cast long shadows over the dunes. Behind him, Veka sat near the cold fire pit, tying the cloth tighter around her arms. They had eaten the last of the food. Water was almost gone. Raynor checked his beacon again. Still blinking red. Still no signal. Vika walked up beside him. You're watching the sand again. Yeah, Raynor said. Tracks. Something was here. She followed his gaze. At first, she saw nothing. But then she noticed them. Marks in the sand. Deep, wide, too large for a human. Too smooth for her people's walkers. Is it following us? Raynor gave a slow nod. Looks that way. Veka felt a chill run through her. It doesn't belong here. Neither do we, Raynor replied. They packed their gear in silence. Raynor adjusted the strap on his rifle. Veka touched the pendant still hanging around her neck. She had started to wear it without thinking. It gave her a strange comfort. She didn't understand why. They'd moved quickly now. Across the open dunes. Every few minutes, Raynor looked back. The tracks followed. But they never saw the creature. By afternoon, they'd reached a cliff. Dark red rock rising from the sand like a wall. Raynor touched the stone. Volcanic. Good. Maybe a cave. They found one. It wasn't deep, but it was better than the open. Inside, the air was cooler. Shadows moved on the walls. Vika sat down, exhausted. Her legs trembled. Raynor dropped his bag. You've gotten stronger. She looked at him. No, I'd just gotten angry. He smiled a little. Then, a sound. A low, rumbling growl. Vika jumped. Raynor grabbed his rifle and moved toward the cave's mouth. He aimed into the light. Something stood on the ridge above. Tall. Thick. Its skin was gray-blue, covered in ridges like stone. Its arms were long. It had no eyes, just slits where a face should be. It sniffed the air. Then it screamed. A terrible, high-pitched howl. Vika clutched her ears. What is that? Raynor pulled back. Never seen one before. Don't want to meet it close up. It's not natural, she whispered. It's old. What do you mean? She stared into the firelight. I seen it. In dreams. My ancestors spoke of such things. Creatures that lived in the deep sand. Made by the first ones. Lost for centuries. Raynor narrowed his eyes. It's hunting you, isn't it? Yes, she said. It's not just following. It's waiting. Watching. It wants something. Raynor loaded a round into his rifle. Then we don't stay here. But it was too late. The creature dropped from the ridge. landed with a heavy thud just outside the cave. Sand flew into the air. Raynor fired. The shot hit its shoulder. It staggered, but didn't fall. Another shot. This time, the creature roared. Then charged. Raynor pulled Vika behind him. Back. Get to the rear exit. There is no exit, she yelled. The beast lunged. Raynor threw himself sideways, barely avoiding the swipe of its claw. The cave shook from the impact. Dust rained down. Vika screamed. The creature turned toward her. Raynor tackled it from behind, slamming the rifle into its back. But the weapon cracked. He was thrown hard into the wall. Vika stood frozen. The beast stepped toward her. Its head tilted. It sniffed her. Then, it bowed. Vika's heart stopped. It didn't attack. It didn't roar. It knelt. What the? Raynor groaned from the floor. The creature reached out, slowly, and touched the pendant around her neck. It growled in a strange rhythm, a chant, a word in a lost language. Vika trembled. It was speaking her name. Vekatan, child of flame, blood of the old. Raynor stared in disbelief. The creature slowly backed away. Then it turned and vanished into the desert. Night fell fast. Raynor patched the rifle. His head throbbed. Okay, he muttered. You need to talk. Vika sat near the fire, her arms wrapped around her knees. That thing, he said. What was it doing? Why didn't it kill you? She didn't look up. Because I carry the blood. Raynor raised an eyebrow. You said that before. Old blood. What does that really mean? She took a deep breath, then began. Long ago, before my people built ships and cities, there were others, ancient ones. They shaped the land, controlled fire and wind. They ruled by power and blood. Your ancestors. Yes, she said, but they feared their own strength, so they sealed it away, said no child should carry it. But you did. She nodded. Born with fire in my veins, my skin doesn't burn in the sun. My dreams show me places I've never been. I heard voices in the sand as a child. Raynor leaned forward. And your people, instead of protecting you. They feared me, she said. They said I would bring the desert back to life, that the creatures would return, that the sky would break open. Raynor looked out at the stars. Maybe you're not cursed. Maybe you're the answer to something they forgot. Vika looked down at the pendant. Your gift woke something in me. What do you mean? When the creature looked at it, it saw more than stone. It saw meaning. A symbol. Maybe your people made it long ago. Or maybe the old ones shaped it. Raynor let out a slow breath. Then I gave you more than a necklace. You gave me a key, she said. And now, doors are opening. The desert was not silent now. Something had been awakened, and whatever it was, it had been waiting for her return. Waiting for the child of flame. Buried city, buried truths. The desert changed on the third day. The dunes were no longer smooth. Cracked stone broke through the sand like bones rising from a grave. The air felt heavier, drier. Even the wind sounded different. Raynor noticed it first. This place smells old, he said, brushing his hand across a broken pillar half buried in the sand. Vika stood quietly beside him, her eyes wide, her skin pale. She could feel it too, deep under her feet. A pulse, a whisper, a memory. They had reached the place from her dreams. A city, lost to time. The sun beat down from above, but the stone below was cold, shadowed, full of history. Raynor knelt and brushed the sand away from an old marking. It was a symbol, 2 hands holding a star. He looked up at her slowly. This is the same as the pendant I gave you. Veka's heart skipped. She clutched the necklace tightly. This place was once called Thirun, the city of first flame. You've been here before. Only in dreams, she whispered. They moved carefully now, each step revealing more of the buried city. Tower tops stuck out of dunes. Crumbled statues watched from broken walls. The deeper they walked, the more the desert felt like it was watching them back. "Do you feel that?" Raynor asked. Vika nodded. "Yes, something is awake down here." They'd reached a stairway, stone, ancient, leading underground. The air from below was cool and dry. Raynor clicked on a light and led the way. The stairs went deeper than expected. Walls were covered in carvings, strange creatures, tall figures, flames. Then they saw her. A carving on the far wall. It was a tall figure with glowing eyes, arms raised, and fire blooming from her hands. Below it was a name. Vekatan. Raynor turned to her, eyes wide. "That's you." "No," she whispered. "It's someone before me. Someone I was named after." "You're telling me you're named after an ancient fire goddess." "She wasn't a goddess," Vika said slowly. "She was the first of my kind. The first child born with the old blood. And your people buried this. They tried to erase it," she said, "because power scares them. Truth scares them." Raynor reached out and touched the wall. A low hum filled the air. The stone vibrated under their hands. Then a hidden door opened. The door led to a chamber deep under the sand. It was round with a tall ceiling. In the center stood a pedestal made of crystal and metal. Dust floated in the still air. On the pedestal was a crown. Not a golden crown, not shiny or full of gems. It was simple, black metal with red lines running through it like veins of fire. Vika walked forward slowly, her breath caught in her throat. "I know this place," she said. "I've seen it in my sleep, every night since I was a child." Raynor stayed close behind. "That crown, it's calling to you." She reached out. Her fingers touched the metal, and the room lit up. Flames danced across the walls. Carvings glowed. The floor shook. Raynor raised his weapon in reflex, but Vika didn't move. Voices echoed, soft, layered, ancient. "Blood of the flame. Return of the line. We see you, Vekatan. We name you rightful heir." Vika gasped. Light poured into her chest. Her back arched. Fire bloomed around her hands. Raynor ran to her. "Veka." She turned to him, eyes glowing gold. "I remember now," she whispered. "I remember everything." When the light faded, she stood taller, stronger. Her hair floated slightly, like caught in a breeze that wasn't there. Raynor looked at her in awe. "You okay?" She nodded. "I'm not cursed. I was never cursed." "I think I'd figured that out already," he said, smiling a little. She laughed softly. For the first time, it wasn't bitter. Then her face grew serious. "This city wasn't destroyed by time," she said. "It was buried, on purpose, by those who feared the old blood. My ancestors tried to hide it, to end the line of power, but something went wrong." Raynor pointed to a wall. "These symbols, they talk about guardians, creatures left behind to protect the secret. The thing that followed us," she said, "it wasn't hunting me. It was testing me, to see if I was ready." "Ready for what?" She looked him in the eye. "To take back the throne, to awaken the others like me, to rebuild what was lost." Raynor was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "Well, that escalated." She smiled again. "You started it. You gave me the pendant. That gift, it unlocked the door. Literally. I thought it was just a necklace," he said. "It was more. It was faith." They left the chamber at dusk. The desert sky was purple and gold. Vika stood at the edge of the buried city, looking out over the sand. "Somewhere out there," she said, "the people who left me to die are still ruling. Still lying. Still afraid." Raynor stood beside her. "So what now?" "I find them," she said. "I show them I survived. I show them the truth." Raynor looked out at the dunes. "That won't be easy. They'll fight." Veka turned to him. Will you help me?" He didn't answer right away. Then he reached into his bag and pulled out his last water bottle. He handed it to her. "As long as I have water to give, I'm with you." That night, they camped among the ruins. The stars above were brighter than ever, and deep beneath their feet, the city pulsed again, alive for the first time in centuries. A secret buried, a truth awakened, a fire reborn. Trial by sand and flame. The wind screamed that night. It wasn't just a storm, it was something deeper, something older, a warning carried on the air. Raynor stood at the edge of the buried city, rifle in hand, eyes locked on the horizon. Vika stood beside him, the old crown resting in her arms, wrapped in cloth. The glow from the chamber was still in her skin, soft, golden, like warm light trapped inside. "They know," she said quietly. Raynor nodded. "Someone felt the city awaken. You think they'll come? They won't come alone." From behind them, the wind shifted again, and with it came the sound. Heavy footsteps, crunching sand. The creature had returned. But this time, it didn't stop at the ridge. It walked straight into the city. Raynor raised his weapon. "I think it wants round two." "No," Vika said, stepping forward. "It's not here to fight." She walked toward the beast, crown in one hand, pendant around her neck. The creature bowed its head as she approached. "I am Veketen," she said, "child of the flame. You know this." The creature didn't speak, but it moved. With one clawed hand, it drew a circle in the sand. Then it stepped inside and waited. Vika froze. Her face went pale. "It's the trial," she whispered. "The one from the carvings." Raynor walked up. "What kind of trial?" "Power doesn't belong to anyone unless it's earned. The fire inside me, it must be tested. In battle, in pain, in choice." She looked at him. "If I step into that circle, I might not come back." Raynor's jaw tightened. "Then don't go." "I have to," she said, "or I'll never be more than a lost girl in the sand." She took a deep breath and stepped into the circle. The world changed the moment her foot touched the line. The sky turned black. The stars vanished. She was no longer in the city. She was in a wasteland of fire. Mountains of ash. Rivers of flame. The air shimmered with heat. The creature stood before her, taller now, stronger, eyes burning like suns. It roared and charged. Raynor saw her collapse. From outside the circle, her body dropped to her knees. She shook violently, eyes open, but unseeing, like she was trapped inside a dream. He reached for her, but something pushed him back. An invisible wall. "Vika," he shouted. "Come on, fight it." But she couldn't hear him. She was inside the trial, and only she could survive it. Inside the burning world, Vika rolled aside just as the beast's claw slammed down. The ground split from the impact. She ran, leaping over molten cracks, dodging burning rocks. The creature followed, fast and furious. She turned, raised her hand, and fire answered. A wave of heat shot from her palm. The flames struck the creature in the chest, but it kept coming. Roaring. Faster. Stronger. She screamed and threw more fire, but her legs gave out. Her body shook. Her vision blurred. Then the voices came. Echoes. Memories. "You were never one of us. You carried death in your blood. She's cursed. Leave her." Vika covered her ears. "Stop." But the voices only grew louder. "You're not a queen. You're a mistake." The creature charged again. This time, it struck. She flew back, hit the ground hard, and cried out. Her hands were bleeding. Her power flickered. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I'm not strong enough." Outside the circle, Raynor pounded the invisible wall. "Vika, listen to me. You are stronger than this." No answer. He reached into his pocket, pulled out the pendant. He pressed it to the barrier. "Remember what I gave you," he said. It wasn't just a gift. It was a promise. Inside the trial, Vika felt it. A warmth in her chest. A voice in her heart. "You're not alone anymore." She looked up. The creature came again. But this time, she didn't run. She stood, raised her hands, and fire burst from her body. Not wild, not chaotic. Controlled. Clean. Bright. The flames wrapped around her like armor. Her eyes turned gold. Her voice became strong. "I am not cursed," she said. "I am chosen." The beast roared. She met it head on. The two clashed, fire and fury, strength and power. But she didn't back down. She didn't break. And when the fire cleared, she stood alone. The beast lay still at her feet. Then it bowed. The trial ended. The sky returned. The stars came back. Vika opened her eyes. Raynor caught her before she fell. "Easy," he said. "You're okay. You did it." She looked at him, dazed. "I saw everything. My blood, my line. The power. It's not just fire. It's memory. It's truth." He smiled. "And you passed." The creature rose again, smaller now. It touched her chest gently, then turned and disappeared into the desert, leaving behind only its shadow and silence. Later, as they sat near the fire, Raynor handed her water. "You almost died back there," he said. "I know," she whispered, "but it was worth it." She placed the crown on her head, not because she wanted power, but because she was ready to carry the truth. Raynor looked at her. "So what now, Your Highness?" Vika laughed softly. "Now, we burn down the lies." The trial was over, but the real war was just beginning. And this time, she would not run. The Council of Bones. The sands shifted again, not from wind, from movement, deep below the desert where time had forgotten. Raynor and Vika stood on the edge of a massive stone disk, half buried beneath a thin layer of sand. Vika stared down, her golden eyes wide with memory and fear. "This is it," she whispered, "the place from the oldest stories, the seat of the old ones." Raynor knelt and cleared more of the sand away. Strange symbols circled the disk, lines that pulsed faintly with red light. He looked up at her. "You sure about this?" "No," she said honestly, "but we've come too far to stop." She stepped forward and placed her hand on the center symbol, a flame inside a circle. The stone disk groaned. Then it turned. The ground shook as the disk slid open, revealing a spiral stairway that led deep underground. Cold air rushed out, dry and heavy like a breath held for 1,000 years. Vika didn't hesitate. She descended into the dark. Raynor followed, rifle ready. The stairs spiraled downward for what felt like hours. The air grew colder with every step. Torches lit on their own as they passed, flames blooming with blue fire. Finally, they reached a massive chamber, a council room carved from ancient black stone. 13 seats stood in a circle, raised and tall. Each one was shaped from bone. Real or stone, Raynor couldn't tell. In the center of the chamber was a low platform with strange patterns carved into it. The ceiling stretched high, lost in darkness. Vika stepped onto the platform. Then the chamber came alive. Ghostly shapes flickered into the 13 chairs, figures made of light and memory. Not alive, but not fully dead. The Council of Bones had returned. One voice echoed through the chamber. "Blood answers blood." Another followed. "She wears the crown. She passed the trial. She has the flame." Vika stood tall, though her hands trembled. "I am Vekatin. I claim my place. I call for the truth." The voices spoke together now, their tones like wind and fire. "Then truth you shall have. But truth cuts deeper than swords." The chamber shifted. The carvings on the platform lit up. Raynor stepped closer. "What's happening?" Veka didn't answer. She was lost in the light. A vision filled the air. She saw her people, not now, but centuries ago. Proud, powerful, holding the flame. But greed crept in. Fear of others. Fear of losing power. They turned on each other. The old ones, those with strongest fire, were hunted, trapped, buried beneath sand and stone. The council, the very 13 who now sat in memory, had ordered it. They feared what the fire could become. So they killed their own. Vika gasped. Her hands shook. You, she said, staring at the ghostly council. You were the traitors. The voices did not deny it. We chose order over chaos, control over destruction. We silenced the fire, but it burned anyway. In you. Raynor stepped forward. You buried the truth. You left her to die. And now you want what? Her forgiveness. The spirits did not speak for a moment. Then, we want her choice. Veka's voice was cold. What choice? You now hold the line. The flame. You can return the fire to our people, or you can bury it forever. Choose power, and the empire is reborn. Choose silence, and it all fades. She stared at them. All my life, I was called cursed. A monster. I was thrown into the desert like trash. And you started it all. Raynor stepped beside her. They don't deserve a second chance. But Veka didn't speak. Instead, she looked down at the flame-shaped carving beneath her feet. I could burn everything, she said. I could tear the sky open and rain down fire. I have that power now. The spirits waited. But I won't. Raynor blinked. You won't. She looked up at the council. I won't be like you. The room grew still. I will return the flame, but not to build thrones of bone. I will share it, to heal, to guide, to protect. The spirits flickered. You would give power to the people. Yes, she said. No more secrets, no more fear. The fire lives in many, not just one. There was silence. Then the spirits bowed. Then we are no longer needed. The past ends here. One by one, the ghosts faded. Only a quiet voice remained. You are not our heir. You are their future. The chamber dimmed. The air grew still again. Raynor touched her arm. You okay? Vika looked at him. Her eyes were full of tears, but not sadness. Relief. For the first time. I think I am. They left the chamber in silence. The stars above were bright and cold. Vika looked out at the sand. They'll come for me, she said. The rulers, the liars, they'll want to silence me, just like before. Raynor smiled faintly. Let them try. Veka held up the crown, but didn't place it on her head. Instead, she handed it to Raynor. Keep this for me. He raised an eyebrow. You trust me with it? She nodded. You gave me your sacred thing. Now I give you mine. Raynor looked at the crown, then at her. I'll guard it with my life. She smiled. I know. The fire was rising. Not just in her, but in the hearts of a people who had forgotten what it meant to hope. And Veka would lead them, not as a queen, not as a weapon, but as the first flame reborn. Return of the Sand Queen. The sky above the dunes had changed. Clouds gathered for the first time in years. Thunder rolled across the horizon. The sand no longer whispered, it listened. And in the distance, from atop a broken ridge, a young woman stood. Her cloak was torn by wind. Her boots were covered in dust. Around her neck hung a human pendant, glowing faintly. Behind her, at his usual quiet pace, walked the man who had carried her out of death. Raynor. They had returned, and the Empire would feel it. Vika stood at the edge of the canyon road as massive skiffs arrived from the west. Each one was armored, black with red markings. Tribal banners hung from the sides. Soldiers stepped down, tall, armored in bone and silver, carrying heat blades and plasma bows. At the center of the caravan rode a throne on wheels, and on that throne sat High Chancellor Auroch, the one who had ordered her exile. He didn't recognize her at first, but then the wind shifted, and she pulled back her hood. Gasps echoed. Hands froze on weapons. One soldier even dropped his spear. It was her, the girl left to die. Now standing tall. Alive. Auroch narrowed his eyes. "That's not possible," he said. Vika stepped forward. "It's more than possible," she said. "It's real." "You were cast into the deep sand," he said. "The fire was supposed to take you. It tried," she said, "but a human gave me water." Raynor stood behind her, silent, rifle on his back. Auroch rose from his seat. "You return in rags and call yourself strong. What do you expect? Worship?" "No," she said. "I expect answers." The wind blew harder. "I found the Council of Bones," she said. "I passed the trial of flame. I carry the truth, and I'm not here to beg. You dare challenge your elders." "I don't challenge you," she said. "I replace you." Auroch laughed. "You think words make you queen?" "No," she said, "but the people will." She raised her hands. The sky cracked. Lightning flashed across the desert. Clouds swirled. From behind the ridge, hundreds of shapes appeared. Pilgrims, outcasts, and rebels from all corners of the empire. Some wore rags. Others carried tools, not weapons, but all had one thing in common. They followed her. They had seen the sky change. They had heard the voice of the sand. And they had come. Raynor looked at her. "Now what?" he asked. Vika stepped forward alone. Auroch's guards rushed forward. But Vika didn't flinch. She dropped to one knee. "Not in weakness, but in choice. I do not kneel to you," she said. "I kneel to the truth." She touched the sand. It glowed under her fingers. A wave of energy spread across the desert floor. Flowers bloomed from cracks in the earth. Dry air turned wet. For the first time in memory, it rained. People gasped. Even Auroch stepped back. "You bring life to the sand," he whispered. "No," she said. "I remind it to live." She stood. And now, the guards did not move. They stepped aside. One by one, the people behind Auroch dropped to their knees, not from fear, but from belief. The throne behind him shook and cracked. Auroch looked at her, eyes wild. "What are you?" Vika walked toward him slowly. "I was a girl you left to die," she said. "And now, I am the flame you cannot put out." He reached for his weapon. Raynor was faster. The rifle fired once. The heat pulse missed Auroch on purpose, but melted the blade in his hand. Raynor lowered his weapon. "Next time, it won't miss." Auroch fell to his knees, sweating, trembling. "I did what I thought was right." "No," Vika said. "You did what made you powerful. Now I will show you what true power is." She turned to the crowd. She raised the human pendant and the crown together. "One is a gift. One is a symbol," she said, "but neither makes me your queen. You do." The crowd roared. Not in war. In unity. Later that night, as fires burned across the dunes, not of destruction, but of celebration, Vika and Raynor sat on a high ledge. Below them, the people danced. Children laughed. The desert was alive again. Vika leaned back, looking at the stars. "You saved me," she said, "and I thought that was the end of the story." Raynor smiled. "Turns out, it was just the beginning." She turned to him. "You could go back to Earth now," she said. "You don't owe me anything." Raynor looked at her for a long time. Then he reached into his pack and pulled out the pendant he had once given her. "I didn't give you this because I owed you," he said. "I gave it to you because I believed you were worth saving." She took the pendant, held it tight, then gently reached out and took his hand. "You are my flame now," she whispered. "And you," he said, are my reason to keep walking. The dooms no longer whispered of death. Now they sang of a girl who rose from the dust, of a human who offered hope, and of a fire that could never again be buried. The Sand Queen had returned, not to rule, but to remind the stars that even the smallest spark can become a sun.